To start our pumpkin, the first thing you're going to do is make a very large oval in the middle of your paper, but you are going to leave enough room at the top to add the stem. So you can go ahead and add the stem now. Now this is too skinny for a pumpkin, so you're going to make another line, kind of a C-shaped line on each side of your pumpkin. And that is still not big enough of a pumpkin. So you're going to go on each side and add another C shape. And you're going to keep doing this until you fill up all of the room on your paper. It's okay if it's lumpy and bumpy because that's how pumpkins are. Hi, it's me, Miss Larson from the future. I learned that you want to have kind of a big stem to hide your head. And when you go to make the line for the top of your pumpkin, put your hand under the stem and make a mark. Now this is a tiny paper, but it's going to be good size on yours. And then connect those to the edges to make sure that you have a big enough stem area and top to hide your head. You'll see what I mean. Then we're going to make the spot where our pumpkin is going to be cut open. So you're going to make one giant curved line at the top of your pumpkin, and you're going to write your name on your paper. I'm also going to go ahead and use my oil pastel to color in my stem. Now the part you've all been waiting for, we're finally mixing colors. So you're going to have your red and your orange. You're going to dip into the red, and before you paint, you're going to dip straight into the yellow. And now you're going to start on one side of the oval and you're going to paint. Notice that it looks really red. So now you're going to take your brush straight into the yellow and keep adding on. And you're going to be amazed to see what happens as you paint with the red dipped into the yellow. It's going to start to turn orange. So every time you dip in, only the first time gets red. All the other times get the yellow, but the red is still on the brush, and so it turns to orange. Now with my new section, I'm getting a bit of red and a bit of yellow, and I'm starting again, and we'll watch it turn orange right before our very eyes. Now notice that we are still painting nicely with Mr. Brush, but we don't have his bathtub today. And it will still work for everyone to experience the magic of mixing as long as you do one quick dip into red and one quick dip into yellow. Then everyone will get to experience the magic of mixing. You don't want to stir around in the pot. You're just doing one quick dip in and out. And you're going to continue doing this until you have painted your whole pumpkin. And you'll notice that one side looks like a darker orange and the other side looks like a lighter orange. That's going to help your pumpkin look a bit more realistic and more 3D because it kind of looks curved, how a real pumpkin would look. Next, we're going to take our pumpkins, carry it with 2 hands into the drying rack. And now to begin cutting, you're going to use one hand as your helping hand to hold the paper. The other hand is going to super slowly, like a sloth, go around the oil pastel line. If you have a kind of a point like I do, you have 2 choices. One is to rotate your paper with your hand while slowly closing the scissors. The other is to just pick your scissors up and go at it from a different direction, and then it will come out that way. So sometimes it's harder to keep using your hand to turn the paper. So if you just want to move your scissors and come at it from a different direction, then that's a good strategy. Here, I'm going to do it again. And that will help you get the points. And then you're going to go ahead and continue around your pumpkin, cutting it out super slow like a sloth. One thing you want to think about with your stem is that you need a spot big enough to kind of hide your head. So you might and also the stem can be fragile. So when you get to the stem, we're not going to cut it out exactly. We're going to leave some extra white space around it. That way, when our head is hiding behind it, there will be room for it to hide. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. But I'm going to leave that extra white space around my stem, and I'm going to keep cutting out the rest of my pumpkin. Now I'm going to cut out the picture of me. And because we took these in front of the white background, we should be good to make a larger cutout. Don't cut it directly on your hair, because if you accidentally cut part of your face or your ears out, that's going to be sad. So make sure you're just going very slowly like a sloth and leaving some extra room as you cut yourself out. And now for the funny part of the project. Remember how the old woman in the story was hiding in the pumpkin? So now you're going to take a picture of yourself and we are going to cut super slowly like a sloth down that opening mark. The mark that you put in the beginning to show where the top of the pumpkin is. You're going to cut that off, all the way off. You're going to take one of these little guys. It's called a brad. It's a tiny little button with two little legs on it. And so what you're going to do is poke your brad through each paper one at a time. Hold your fingers to support the paper and poke the brad through. See, there it is on the top, and there's the little pointy part. Now we're going to overlap it with the bottom part. Don't go too close to the edge because you need to have enough to keep it strong. We're going to poke it through there, and then you pull each side down. That is going to make the top part of your pumpkin able to open and close. Now go ahead and flip it over to the back and write your name. Then you're going to take your glue stick and add glue to the bottom of your shirt. And then also, before you press it down too much, you kind of want to check, like, is your head poking above? And maybe you need to move yourself down further. I notice in the story that she's kind of really low in the pumpkin, so I'm going to put myself down lower and check to make sure that I'm still hiding behind the pumpkin. And there we have you peeking out of a pumpkin or the pumpkin closed. Remember, creativity takes courage, and you've got this.